Hi, my name is Leah, and I'm a life and relationship transition coach and the founder of Life Remade. And today I am going to be talking about self sabotage in relationships and how to overcome these anxiety driven patterns. So, this is video 3 of a 3-part series about internal conflicts. You may want to watch the other 2 videos first before diving into this one, but it's not necessary. In this video, particularly, we're going to learn how self sabotage stems from insecurity, anxiety, and difficulty forming trusting relationships, which causes unhealthy patterns to show up for us in relationships. And if you found yourself having unhealthy patterns in relationships, then this video is for you. We want to have fulfilling connections in our lives, whether it be friendships or romantic partners. And if you are someone who's ever pushed people away or avoided vulnerability or created conflict out of fear of being hurt, this video will help you to recognize these patterns and start to shift them so that you can have those fulfilling connections that you desire. Step 1, what is self sabotage in relationships? And I think this is something that this is a resource that you may love to check out. The book called The Mountain Is You really breaks down self sabotaging behaviors in all different forms and helps you to recognize like where they come from and why and how to break free of them. So that's a book that I like to recommend to a lot of my clients that you may find useful. But for this video's sake, I'm going to break it down to a simple kind of explanation. So, what is self sabotage in relationships? It's when we unconsciously push away the connections that we crave. So, the push away can look very different for different people, but ultimately, that is what self sabotage in relationships is the destruction or the avoidance or the um, breakdown of the thing that we want the most, which is connection. And it's driven by deep seated fears: fear of rejection, fear of getting hurt, fear of losing control. Why does this happen? Our past experiences shape who we are. And in this instance, self sabotage, it directly stems from our past experiences. So, childhood wounds, past betrayals, or relationships where our trust was broken. It also stems from low self worth. So, feeling like you're not good enough for love. This is a belief that we have about ourselves. There's a fear of intimacy also that creates this. So, wanting closeness, but feeling anxious when things get too serious or too real. Um, that comes from fear of intimacy. And at its core, it's a defense mechanism. All these things that I just mentioned, these self sabotaging behaviors, are a defense mechanism um, because we fear so deeply being hurt and the pain of that. And that's what causes us to self sabotage. Even though we desire connection so deeply, the fear is greater than the desire. And that's what creates the self sabotage. It may be unconscious, it may not be something that you are actively trying to do, but it is fear based. How these patterns show up in relationships. So, here's some common anxiety driven patterns that self sabotage brings about. Excessive need for reassurance is one that I see all the time. Excessive need for reassurance and validation. This is something that I think in our, I guess, modern time, we are taught that we need to be validated. We need to be validated. We need to be reassured. And absolutely, you deserve these things. However, there's a line when there's an excessive need for external validation, external reassurance. This need to constantly be accepted and to need to hear that for ourselves. Otherwise, we don't truly feel loved. This is an anxiety driven pattern that creates a self sabotage. Another thing is constant criticism, so finding faults in your partner or your friends, to create emotional distance and justify withdrawing from the relationship. Another one is picking fights over minor issues. So creating conflict as a way to push the other person away before they can leave us. Another one is withdrawing emotionally when things get too close. So shutting down or becoming distant when vulnerability is needed. The opposite of what we should be doing. Another one is avoiding commitment. So holding back and convincing ourselves that relationships don't feel right to avoid potential heartbreak. Another one is jealousy and distrust. So assuming the worst always and doubting our partner's intentions, which is often based on past wounds and not the reality of what's in front of us. Having jealousy and distrust, I think, is normal if the person that we're dealing with has due cause for creating that within the relationship and trust has been broken. But when you're feeling jealousy and distrust and there's been no trust broken, this is a bit of a red flag internally for you that you may start to self-sabotage. And then finally, another sign is creating unnecessary drama. So instigating issues to avoid deeper emotional connection and to maintain control. Now, I don't want to name any of these as a way to minimize your feelings or a way to tell you you shouldn't trust when yourself when things start to pop up, because sometimes these things are warranted. Sometimes your anger is not unwarranted. It's not just drama. It's real and it's there. So be careful. Take this with a grain of salt. I think internally, if I've named any of these and you're like, yeah, I am doing that and it's not really necessary, um, pay attention. But if somebody else is telling you that you're just being dramatic and you deep down inside know that, no, this is warranted, what I'm feeling, then trust the instinct instead, trust your inner voice instead. Um, Naming all these patterns and naming all these self-sabotaging signs is the first step. But I want you to realize that patterns can be broken. And that's what we do in our coaching sessions is we name these patterns and then we aim to break them. The first step toward healthy relationship is breaking this cycle. So here are some steps that you can take to break it. One, recognize your triggers. So what situations make you feel the urge to push someone away? Recognize your triggers. And this doesn't mean blame someone else for always triggering you. It means just recognize your own triggers for yourself. Number two, pause before reacting to those triggers. So a trigger essentially is something that creates a reaction. So try and pause before the reaction comes. Before shutting down or creating conflict, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I reacting to the present or to the past? Is this coming from a past experience or is this coming from a present place? Am I here now? Number three, challenge your thoughts. So instead of assuming rejection or abandonment from your partner or the person that you're dealing with, ask yourself, what if this person actually cares about me? So try and assume the best. What if this were to work out? What if this isn't even about me, right? Challenge yourself to break that thought process, break that pattern. I'm not saying completely shut yourself down, but ask yourself better questions here. Number four, practice vulnerability in small steps. So self-sabotage is a shutting off of vulnerability, even though it may seem like you're being vulnerable because maybe you're sharing your emotions and you're creating, maybe conflict where there doesn't need to be. What that actually is pushing away. So true vulnerability would mean, hey, I'm feeling a bit insecure right now, and really voicing that, or saying, hey, I really wanted more time with you and this is starting to make me feel a little uneasy. Do you think we could spend more time together? Or do you think we could talk about that? Typically, I tend to push things down and not say anything, but I really don't want to do that right now. So this is what true vulnerability sounds like, is when you own your own triggers, you own your own thoughts and feelings, and then you communicate those effectively. And number 5 is reframe relationship anxiety as growth. So instead of feeling and seeing discomfort as a warning sign, see it as an opportunity to build trust. Discomfort is not a bad thing. Anxiety is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity for us to do something different, right? Something isn't working. Whatever we're doing isn't working. So the anxiety being there, that discomfort when you're trying to be vulnerable for the first time in a new way is a good sign. Remind yourself that. You don't have to fix everything overnight. So remember that the goal isn't perfection, it's just progress. So this is a practice. One small shift at a time is what we're going for. The final takeaway here, I want you to ask yourself this question. What's one pattern of self sabotage that you've noticed in relationships? We all have them, even myself included. I want you to drop a comment below and see if we can work together through it. If this video helped you, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more like it. And download our free worksheet that I'm including below to start overcoming self-sabotage in relationships and take small steps toward that more fulfilling connection that you not only desire, but deserve. Thanks for watching. Bye.